An 84-year-old man once told me, "Doctor, I had gotten used to living with pain. But then, in just 4 days, something I had forgotten in the corner of my kitchen made my body feel like it had awakened." I have walked alongside hundreds of older patients on their journey with chronic pain. Mr. Alfred's story is one of the most special. Today, I'm going to tell you that story. A story about an elderly man who had nearly given up, about a simple turmeric recipe, and about a slow but hopeful recovery. I first met Mr. Alfred during a consultation for seniors with chronic arthritis. He walked in slowly, leaning on a wooden cane, and his eyes carried the look of resignation of someone who had grown accustomed to pain. "The pain goes from my knees to my hands, then up to my back. At first, it was just a twinge when I climbed the stairs. Now, even opening a bottle of water or walking steadily along a wall requires thought." He spoke of the many years he had treated his inflammatory pain with medications, physical therapy, oils, and supplements. Each one would help a little, and then the pain would return. I nodded when he said, "I guess I'm just old. Pain is a part of aging." But even in old age, there can be surprising glimmers of light. Early that spring, after a sleepless night due to knee pain, Mr. Alfred sat silently in his kitchen, staring blankly at the spice rack. Then he saw a long-forgotten jar of turmeric, a jar of Indian spices. His granddaughter had called to check on him. "Grandpa, have you ever tried turmeric? People say it's very good for inflammation and pain." Mr. Alfred had laughed it off. "Yes, it's in the corner of the kitchen cabinet, but I probably haven't opened it in a long time." But this time, he opened it, and he started to do some research. Mr. Alfred took the jar of turmeric down and sat at his old computer. For the first time in months, he felt proactive. No longer just a patient receiving instructions, but someone seeking knowledge. He read everything from health blogs to medical journals, and what caught his attention was curcumin, the main active compound in turmeric. As a doctor, I can confirm curcumin has been shown to have powerful anti-inflammatory properties. A 2016 study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food showed that curcumin can be as effective as ibuprofen in reducing pain from osteoarthritis, but with fewer side effects. What's fascinating is that turmeric has been used for over 2,000 years in traditional Indian medicine, Ayurveda, to treat inflammation, joint pain, and even digestive disorders. Today, modern medicine has begun to recognize the role of curcumin in reducing chronic inflammation, a simmering cause of pain, fatigue, and decreased motor function in older adults. Curcumin has a special mechanism. It inhibits the activity of NF-kappa B, an inflammatory molecule in the body. This helps reduce swelling and pain in the joints and improves mobility without needing to increase the dose of pain medication. The point that resonated most with Mr. Alfred was this: curcumin isn't a magic pill, but it can be an ally if used consistently, correctly, and with persistence. That's when he told me, "I don't need a miracle, doctor. I just need a chance to feel like I'm still in control of this body." After understanding turmeric and curcumin, Mr. Alfred didn't rush to try it. He spent 2 more days carefully reading about preparation, dosage, and necessary precautions. Then one evening he stood in his small kitchen, his hands trembling slightly but his eyes full of focus. He began to prepare his first cup of turmeric, which he would later affectionately call his little golden cup. He measured out a teaspoon of pure turmeric powder, put it in a small pot with a pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Then he added a cup of oat milk, which he chose because it was gentler on his stomach than cow's milk. You can also use unsweetened almond milk or even just warm water. A small spoonful of coconut oil was added last, and a thin slice of fresh ginger was added for a touch of warmth. He stirred everything together with a wooden spoon, heating it over low heat. For 5 minutes he stood there, not letting the mixture boil, just waiting until a light steam rose, stirring continuously as if he were brewing a precious medicine. When it was just right, he strained it through a sieve to remove any remaining sediment, then poured it into an old patterned porcelain cup that he had kept since his wife was alive. He drank it slowly, warmly, as if savoring a ritual meant just for him. As a doctor, I particularly agree with his method, because black pepper, which seems like a minor spice, contains piperine, which helps the body absorb curcumin up to 20 times better. And the oil, whether coconut or olive, is also crucial, as curcumin is fat-soluble. Without these two components, the effectiveness is significantly reduced. Mr. Alfred chose to drink this cup every evening before bed, not as a replacement for his medication, not abandoning his current prescriptions, just as an additional supportive act. But according to him, the very act of preparing it himself, slowly, consistently, made him feel like he was still taking care of himself. And that was the first step of change. I also want to emphasize something extremely important. Curcumin in high doses can interact with certain medications, especially blood thinners or diabetes drugs. Therefore, before adding turmeric to your daily routine as a supportive therapy, always talk to your doctor to ensure it is safe and appropriate for you. When Mr. Alfred recounted what happened in those first 4 days, I wasn't surprised by the speed of the change, but I was moved by how he perceived each small improvement as a quiet miracle. The first night, he drank the turmeric cup with an attitude of near surrender. I wasn't expecting anything. I just thought, I have nothing left to lose. He drank it slowly, then turned off the lights and went to sleep. His sleep was still fitful, but perhaps thanks to the warmth from the cup, he felt a bit more comfortable. On the morning of the second day, as he stepped out of bed, he suddenly realized his knees were no longer as stiff as usual. I still had to hold on to the chair, but my steps felt lighter. It was as if my body could finally exhale a little. On the third day, he woke up earlier than usual. His hands, usually stiff in the morning, moved more easily. He opened the window without having to massage his fingers first. At that moment, he told me, "I'm not sure if it was the turmeric, but I know I smiled to myself when I realized I was no longer afraid of every small movement." By the fourth day, the change became clear. He no longer avoided the low chair in the living room. Instead, he slowly sat down, then stood up without straining. I called my granddaughter and said, "I think that golden stuff is talking to Grandpa's knees." As a doctor, I understand that turmeric is not a magic potion. But as a doctor, I have also seen positive changes when a patient not only receives treatment, but also reconnects with their own body. For Mr. Alfred, it was the return of hope, something that is sometimes more powerful than any pharmaceutical. A week later, Mr. Alfred returned to my clinic. He walked in without his cane, his pace still slow but steady. His eyes were no longer clouded with sadness, but shone with a newfound belief, not the illusion of a complete cure, but an acceptance that his body was changing and that he was walking alongside it. We sat down, drank tea, and talked without rushing. He told me that after his nightly turmeric pup, he started walking around his yard in the mornings, just 10 minutes at first, then 15. He also ate fewer fried foods, cut back on sugar, and went to bed earlier. Nothing groundbreaking, but perhaps it was the consistency of these small things that compounded into a big change. "I still have pain, doctor," he said, "but now I no longer see myself as a victim of the pain. I am someone who lives with it, but is not controlled by it. I take care of my body, and it is responding." I believe that at 84, there is nothing more precious than the feeling that your body is still capable of responding, however slowly, however small. Not because turmeric is magic, but because of the choices made every day, the choice to care for oneself, the choice to believe in one step of improvement, the choice not to give up. For me, that is the greatest lesson from Mr. Alfred's journey. Healing isn't just about medicine. It's about consciousness, about gentleness with oneself, and about small rituals like a cup of turmeric each night. If you are living with a dull ache every day, please don't rush to despair. Perhaps the miracle doesn't come from a prescription, but from a small change you start today. Ask your body, "What can I do for you today?" And listen. Because sometimes what the body needs most is not the promise of a cure, but a sincere act of care.